Hey everyone, welcome back to Hershey Learn. I'm Harshita and today we're diving into one of the most essential topics in C Sharp methods. Think about it, what if we had to write the same block of code again and again? Sounds frustrating, right? That's where methods come in. They help us to keep our code clean, reusable, and well structured. In this video, we will cover what exactly are methods in C Sharp and different types of methods and how they work and some practical examples to understand them better. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how methods works and how to use them effectively in your C Sharp programs. Let's get started. So, what are methods in C Sharp? In simple terms, a method in C Sharp is a block of code. It's designed to perform a specific task. So instead of writing the same logic multiple times, you can define a method once and you can reuse it whenever it's needed. This makes our code more structured, readable, and efficient. So let's look at the basic syntax of the method in C Sharp. Here we have access modifier. This controls the method visibility, whether it's a public method, private or protected. Okay. Next we have return type. This defines what the method returns, whether it returns integer, string or boolean, etc. And this method name, it's a unique name to identify the method. Okay. And here we are passing the parameters. It's used to pass the data into the method, but it's optional. Okay. Next, inside this method, we have method body. It contains the actual code execution. So you can think of this method as a small building block that help you to write clean and reusable code. So instead of repeating the logic again and again, you can define it once and you can call it whenever it's needed. Okay, that we understood what are methods in C Sharp. Now, let's see why do we need methods in C Sharp. Imagine you're working on a project where you have to repeat the same logic over and over again. So, not only does it make your code messy, but updating or fixing errors will become very difficult. This is where methods come in. They help us to write cleaner, reusable, and more structured code. You can see some important points here. The first one is code reusability. So instead of rewriting the same logic multiple times, you can define it once in a method and you can call it whenever it's needed. Next, we have modularity. So it will break down the complex tasks into smaller and manageable pieces. So this makes your code easier to understand and maintain. Next, we have readability. Methods make your code well structured and easier to follow. So anyone looking at your code can quickly understand what's happening. Next, we have maintainability. So, what if you need to update a piece of logic? With methods, you can change only in one place instead of hunting through your entire code base. Lastly, we have encapsulation. So, methods keep your logic protected and separate, preventing unintended modification and ensuring better security. In short, methods make coding in C Sharp simpler, cleaner, and much more efficient. Okay, let's understand different types of methods in C Sharp. Not all the methods are the same. C Sharp offers different types of methods. Each method is designed for a specific purpose. So let's explore them. Here you can see different types of methods. The first one is void methods. They simply execute a task but don't return any value. So it's perfect when you just need an action to happen. Okay, and the next method is returning methods. Unlike void methods, these give back a result. So whether it's a number or a string or an object, the method returns something useful. Next we have methods with parameters. Sometimes methods need an input to work. Correct. So these parameters allow us to pass values, making them more dynamic and readable. And the next method is static methods. These belong to the class itself, not an instance. You don't need to create an object, you just call them using class name. The next method is instance methods. So this requires an object of the class to run. You can think of them as actions specific to an instance. Okay, and the next one is extension methods. So, have you ever wished you could add a new features to an existing class without changing it? That's exactly what extension methods do. Okay, and the next one is expression-bodied methods. It's a short and clean way to define simple methods using arrow symbol. This makes our code less and but the functionality remains same. Okay. And the next one is local functions. It's nothing but method inside methods. So these local functions help us to keep related logics together. It will improve readability also. And the last one is async methods. So when you need to perform tasks like fetching data from a server without freezing your code, you can use this async methods. Each type serves a unique purpose and can make your code more efficient. Up next, let's see how to use them in action. Okay, let's understand void methods in C Sharp. Sometimes we need a method to perform an action without returning any value. That's where void methods come in. A void method executes a task but it doesn't give back anything. So it's commonly used for operations like printing messages, logging data, or updating records. Let's see how this void methods works with an example. First, I need to provide the return type here. Void greet. This is method name. So this void keyword means the method doesn't return any value. Okay, so inside this method, let me use console.writeLine to print something. I'll print hello world. Okay, let me add the semicolon here. So after creating this method, I need to call this using method name. Let me run this code. Oops, sorry. Yes, here you can see hello world. I'll close this. Let me call this method again. Greet. I will rerun this code again. Yes, here you can see this hello world is printed twice because I called this method twice. So instead of writing this console.writeLine every time, we define this greet method once and we can call it whenever it's needed. Okay, now we have seen how void method works. Let's understand returning methods in C Sharp. Okay, so what if we need a method to perform a task as well as it should return a result? That's where returning methods come in. Unlike void methods, returning method sends a value back to the caller. So this is useful when we need to compute a result or use it somewhere else in our program. Let's see how this returning method works with simple example. First, we need to specify the return type here, integer. It may be string or boolean. Okay. After specifying this return type, we need to provide a name to this method. I'm just giving it as code here. So inside this method, let me declare some integer number is equal to 9671. Okay. So whenever I call this method, it should return this number. So I'm using this return statement here, return number. Okay. So we must include this return statement here because it sends a value back to the caller. Let me call this method code. But this method is returning some value, so I need an integer variable to store the result. After storing this result, let me print this using this console.writeLine. Just printing code is whatever it's there in the result. Okay, let me close this. I'll run this program. Yes, here you can see 9671. Okay, let's understand methods with parameters in C Sharp. Sometimes a method needs an input to perform its task dynamically. That's where parameters comes in. And these parameters allow us to pass value into a method, and these values can be used inside a method to perform some operations. Let's see how it works with simple example. First we need to specify return type here, void. That means it will not going to return anything. Okay, after this we need to provide method name. I'm just giving it as display message. So it takes string parameter, string message. Inside this method, so let me print console.writeline message. Okay, I'm just printing this message. Okay, now I'll call this method. So while calling, I need to pass some string value here. So never give up. Okay, I'm just passing this string. I'll run this code. Yes, here you can see it printed as never give up. So I'll close this. I'll call this method again. This time I'll pass different string value. Stay happy always. Let me add semicolon here. I'll rerun it again. Yes, here you can see this time it printed never give up as well as stay happy always. So instead of hard coding the values, we can pass different messages dynamically. Okay, let's understand static methods in C sharp. What if you need a method that works without creating an object? That's where static methods comes in. A static method belongs to the class itself. It's not an instance. So you don't need to create an object to call it. So if you don't know about class, don't worry. It is just a template to create object. I'll explain in detail about class in my future lectures. So now let's focus on static methods. So the static methods are useful for utility functions or operations that do not depend on instance data. Okay. So let's see how it works with simple example. First, let me create a static class, public static class. Let me give the name as utility here. So inside this class, I'll create static method, public static void. That means this method will not going to return anything. Show. I'm just giving the method name as show here. Inside this method, I'll use this console.writeline to print. I'll just say static method example. Okay, let me use semicolon here. Now I need to call this static method. Correct. So I need another class. Let me give the class name as program. Inside this, I need main method, static void main. So inside this main method, let me call this show. So this show is a static method inside this utility class. Correct. So we can call it directly by using this class name. Let me use utility here. Utility dot show. Okay. I'll save it. Let me run this code. Yes, here you can see it printed as static method example. Okay, that we have seen how static methods works. Now let's understand instance methods in C sharp. Instance methods are the method that belong to an object of the class rather than the class itself. This means you need to create an instance or object of a class before calling this instance method. So they're particularly useful when you're working with data that is unique to each object. So let's see how it works with simple example. First, let me create a class here, public class. Let me give the class name as calculator. Okay, inside this class, I'll create an instance method. So public int, this is just a return type of this method. So it will going to return integer values. So I can give the method name as subtract. Okay, so it will take two integer parameters int b. So it will going to return the result here, return a minus b. Okay, so this subtract method is tied to a specific calculator object. So you cannot call it directly using the class name. You must create an instance of this class, then only you can call this subtract method. Okay, let me create another class here. Public class program. So inside it, we have static void main. Now I need to create an instance of this calculator class. So calculator, I need to give the variable name here. Calc is equal to, using new keyword we can create. So new calculator. Okay, now we have created this object. Now we can call this method. Okay, subtract. Here I need to pass two values. Let me pass 20, comma 7. So this method will going to return some value. Let me store it in integer variable. Result is equal to. After getting this result, let me print the result using this console.writeLine. Result. Let me add semicolon here. I'll run this code. Yes, here you can see the output. Okay, now that we have understood how this instance method works, this instance methods help us to keep our data encapsulated within this object. This will make your code organized, modular, and reusable. So instead of writing repetitive logic, you define behavior once and you can apply it to different objects as needed. Okay, now let's understand extension methods. In C Sharp, extension methods lets you to add new functionality to existing types without modifying their original code. So this is useful when you want to extend built-in types like string or list without changing the source code. So instead of creating new class or modifying the existing one, you can define an extension method that behaves as a part of the type. Okay, but while creating this extension methods, you need to follow some simple rules. The first one is the method must be inside a static class. So whatever the extension method you are creating, that should be inside a static class. And the second one is the method itself should be a static. Okay. So you can create a static method. And the last one is the first parameter should have this keyword before the type you are extending. So if you are extending string type, you should have this keyword before the type. Let's say you want to add a method that counts the number of words in a string. Since you can't modify the string class directly, you can use an extension method. First, let me create static class. Static class. Let me give the class name as string extensions. Okay. Inside this static class, I need to create an extension method, but the method should be static. Okay. Let me create public static int word count. The method name is word count, and here we're using the return type as integer since it will count the number of words in a string. So as I said earlier, the first parameter should have this keyword, so I'm adding this. After that we need to specify the type that we're extending, string str. I'm just giving the variable name to that string. Okay, now I need to return the word count, so return str dot split based on space. Okay, I need to return the length. Okay, that we have created a static class called the string extensions, and inside that we define this word count method with this string str. Okay, we are extending the string type. Now any string can use this word count to count the number of words in a string. Okay, let me call this method. For that I need to create a class program. We can give any name. Inside this I need static void main method because the program execution starts from this main method. So inside this, let me define a string here. String sentence. I'm just giving the variable name as sentence here. Hello, Harshi, learn, learn, world. Okay. I'm just giving it as hello, Harshi, learn, world. I'll add the semicolon here. Let me use console.writeLine to print the count. Let me use sentence dot word count. Okay. I'll add the semicolon here. Let me run this. Here I should get the output as 3. Yes, here you can see, as expected, we got the output as 3. Okay, I hope you understood how this extension methods works. This extension methods makes your code clean, reusable and easy to read. They're commonly used in LinkQ, ASP.NET and many other frameworks to enhance functionality without modifying the original code. So whenever you want to extend the built-in time, you can just use this extension methods. Okay, let's understand expression-bodied methods in C Sharp. Expression-bodied methods were introduced in C Sharp 6 to make code more concise and readable. So instead of writing full method with curly braces and return statement, you can define simple methods in a single line using lambda operator. Lambda operator is nothing but arrow symbol, just like this. Okay, first I'll create a method in a traditional way and later I'll show you how we can create expression-bodied method. Okay, first let me specify the return type here. I need to provide the method name. It will accept integer parameter. I can give the variable name as num here. So I'm adding this curly braces. So this method will return square of that particular number. Okay, now I'll show you how we can create the same method using expression bodied method. So let me comment this code first. Okay, first we need to specify the return type here, that is integer. Then I need to provide the method name, that is square. It will accept integer parameter num. Now I need to use this lambda operator. Okay, so and I need to specify what it will return. Num star num. Okay, now I need to add a semicolon. Let me use this console.writeLine. Now I'll call this square method. I'll pass this number. Okay, let me run this code. Yes, we got the output as 16 here. Here you can see this lambda operator directly specifies what the method should return. So no need to use this curly braces and return statement here. Okay, let's understand local functions. This local function was introduced in C Sharp 7. It is simply a method that is declared inside another method. Sometimes we may need a small helper method that is only relevant to a specific operation. So instead of defining it separately in the class, you can nest it inside the main method. So this approach improves code structure and also it enhances readability and it keeps unnecessary methods hidden from the rest of the class. So let's see how this local functions works with simple example. Let me create a method here. void. Let me give the method name as outer method. Okay. So inside this method, I'll create another method. This is inner method. Inside this inner method, let me print console.writeline. I'm inside inner method. Okay. So I'll add the semicolon here. Now I'll call this local function here. That means inner method. Okay. Here, this inner method is defined inside this outer method. Okay. Since it is a local function, it cannot be called outside this outer method. So let me call this outer method here. Okay. Let me run this code. Yes, here you can see it printed as inside inner method. Since we call this outer method, but this outer method contains this inner method. Here you can see in the line number 8, we are calling this inner method. So it is printing inside inner method. Okay, let's understand async methods. It was introduced in C# 5. Async methods allow you to perform a task without blocking the main thread. So this is especially useful for a long-running operations like fetching data, reading files, or calling APIs. For example, imagine you're ordering a food at a restaurant. You don't just sit there waiting. Okay, instead, you place your order and do other things while waiting for the food. That's exactly how async methods works. Okay, let me define async method using this async keyword. It usually returns task. Let me return string here. So I need to provide some name to this method. I'll just say hello async. Okay. Inside this method, I'll use this await keyword here to pause the execution until the awaited operation completes. Okay. I'll just say task delay for 2 minutes. Sorry, 2 seconds. So after 2 seconds, it should return hello world. Okay. So this say hello async method is marked as async, so it runs asynchronously. And inside this method, we are using this await delay. That means we are just introducing 2 seconds delay. After this delay, it will return this hello world. Okay. So let me call this method. I need to use await keyword here since it is a synchronous method. So I'll just call say hello async. Okay. So it is returning some string. So let me store the string here. String. I'll just name it as greet here. So let me print this using this console.writeline. Greet. Okay. I'll run this code. Yes. Here you can see it printed as hello world. Alright, before we wrap up, let's quickly go over what we have learned. So, methods are essential for structuring and organizing code. They help us to break down complex tasks and it will improve reusability and make your programs more readable. And also, we have covered 9 major types of methods, along with some useful concepts like extension methods, expression-bodied methods, and async methods. So, all of which will make coding in C# more efficient and enjoyable. So, understanding this will help you to write cleaner, more maintainable code and build better applications. So, keep practicing and keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep coding. That's it for today's session. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Hershey Learn.